Let's talk about doing your celery juice. Celery juice is the first 2 days you're going to be focusing on celery juice of each cycle, of each 10-day cycle. And so it's a big part of this program. It is super easy to make, but let's talk a little bit about the why first. I'm going to scooch that out of the way. Why celery juice? Celery juice is the best way to get your gut alkalized. And this helps it heal. Really, really good for your gut health. It helps with getting rid of the bad bacteria that are in there, having the good stuff in there flourish really, really well. It's really, really good for detoxing from metals. So if you're somebody who needs to detox from metals, I'm going to show you a specific one that has celery and cilantro and apple that's going to help with that. But even just celery juice alone, super, super good with helping metals detox. Is really good for the permeability of your stomach. So leaky gut, if you've heard of having leaky gut syndrome, a lot of people tell you, get rid of gluten, get rid of this, get rid of that. Really, it needs to get in and heal so that you can bring more foods into your life. And celery juice really comes in and helps heal all of those things. It's also super hydrating. So during most of the time when I'm just out and about, a lot of times I'll have celery juice, or I will do that as a pre-workout drink because it has all of those beautiful electrolytes in a whole form in a way that's really absorbable for your body. So it really, really helps with you staying hydrated. It helps with like both conditions of like either you have too loose of bowels or you're constipated or whatever. It equalizes everything else out and helps everything smooth out. And it is just like a super, super powerhouse. So, which is why we spend so much time concentrating on it. But again, if you want to learn more about that, I'm going to put some more information in the resources section. And let's get into just making some celery juice. So I have a very basic juicer here. Everyone has asked me if they need a very big, fancy, whatever juicer. This is just kind of a centrifugal juicer. It's super easy. I think they were only like 50 or 100 bucks. I don't know. I can't remember when I bought it. So for this type of juice, you don't need anything super fancy. If you were gonna do softer fruits or softer vegetables that need to be kind of masticated up and stuff, then you might want one. But for hard things, these work really, really well. And this is so dang simple. So on day one of each of these 10-day cycles, day one is dedicated to celery juice only. So this is a clean celery juice with no other juice in it, no other factors, just plain celery juice. One thing I do want to note about this that'll be kind of in your instructions as well is you want to have this on an empty stomach in the morning. So as the first thing to break your fast, I want you to actually go for celery juice before water on these days. So that's really, really important for it to have the highest healing effect, the highest contact with all of the things in your system moving through. Think about it, if it's helping your gut and your stomach, and it actually helps balance the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, it actually raises it to the level it needs to be, helps with that gut bacteria, all of those things. It really needs to be in there in its purest form possible. In order to do that, you want to do that on an empty stomach. Okay, so that's thing one, do this on an empty stomach. So let's just get into some celery. Just your basic batch of celery right here. Good thing for you guys right now is celery is really good priced. So I go through a bunch like this in a day if I am doing celery juice the whole day, which is what my day is. My day is actually juice day 2. So I'm going to show you this juice and then I'm going to show you the other one. So with celery, things that you need to know is you need to break it apart and wash it before it gets really dirty down in these little cracks and creases there. So you can see down there and up through here, it'll get lots of dirt. Something else to know, all these little leaves and stuff, leave all that on. Leave the leaves on. They're so, so, so good for you, and they makes the juice taste really nice and bright and fresh. celery is actually like more of an aromatic than a vegetable in like classification form, and those leaves are really good for you. So let's get those washed up, and then I'll show you how easy getting the celery juice going is. So I'm gonna put in about half this stock. So I'm gonna put in 1, 2, 3, 4 really good size. I'm gonna get these washed up, and then let's put them through the juicer. Then the only thing I'm gonna cut off here is the very, very, very bottom. Just kind of this, I'm gonna even leave a lot of that white on. So just that very, very bottom is the only thing I am going to cut off there. Okay, and then the next thing you need to know is just a few things about how your juicer works. So make sure this back part is under and attached. That's where all of the leftovers, all the pulp and everything are gonna go here. And then the juice is gonna come out this side, and you'll probably have a little container like this. Make sure it goes all the way under that spout so it catches in, because it can kind of slip under there. And then you wanna turn your juicer on before you start putting your produce in. And then we are gonna put our produce in with leaf side down. You wanna put the softest things in first, and then the hardest things on the top. And so we always go leaf side down first. So let me get this plugged in and get turned on. Watch how fast. So those 4 stalks of celery gave me this much juice. I'm gonna say that's probably about a cup and a half, probably about a cup and a third of juice. And for me personally, that's enough for right now. I don't need a whole bunch of juice. You'll actually find it's more satiating than you think it's going to be, because it's like real food that goes in. But if you do find you need more than that, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you really can just pour it into a glass, or a lot of times I'll drink it straight from here, but I'm gonna show you another one. So I'm gonna pour it out of here. So you can just pour it into a glass. Look how beautiful that is. You see how beautiful and green? It is really, I just crave this stuff, so. So you'll see me kind of swishing it around my mouth. That's called like chewing your juice. It actually helps the enzymes from your mouth, just like you did with chewing, get incorporated with the juice, and helps it break down, and really is better for your digestive system too. So that's one little hint, and I just enjoy it better, right? There is something about like having the mouthfeel and enjoying it in your mouth. So you kind of want to work it around your mouth before you just gulp it down. This juice, any kind of fresh juice that's really medicinal like this, is not meant to be just gulped down. So celery juice all day, you can have it like as much as you need, especially in a transition period where you're used to doing a lot of foods during the day. You may need more. For me, I'm gonna go through that 1 stalk in a day, and that'll be fine for me. So it's really just a couple of cups like that, and I'm gonna be just fine. For you, you may need more than that. There is no right or wrong within that, so don't worry about it. Next, I'm going to show you a juice that you may want to do on day 2. So remember, day 1 is celery only, completely clean celery. Day 2, you can bring in a few things. You can bring in, for your fruit, you can bring in apple. That's basically the only one right now. After you go through this 4-cycle stretch, then we kind of reevaluate and go, okay, could you bring in some pear? Could you bring in some other like harder fruits that are going to come in? But I know apple does really, really well with your digestion and some of the other things that we're trying to support right now. So we're going to bring in apple. And then the herb that is so absolutely amazing and so good for cleansing your body. We're gonna bring in cilantro, and this tastes really, really nice, guys. And so if you're somebody who hasn't, so here's the qualifications. Anyone can do this one, anyone at all. But if you are in the next couple qualifications, I really highly recommend it for you. If you have a lot of bloating, like your stomach feels a little bit more distended than normal, you have a little bit more swelling and bloating, you definitely want to do this. If you know you have had issues with metal toxicity or heavy metals in your body stored in the past, if you have autoimmune issues, if you are feeling super sluggish during the day and are really, really tired, this is going to be one for you. Or if you're somebody who hasn't worked with me before and really needs to do a cleansing period, or even people who've worked with me before and you're like, okay, I kind of did some things last week that maybe weren't on the program, weren't on my eating plan, it's Christmas time, I need to cleanse some things out of my system, then this is going to be really, really good for you. So we're going to take, this is a whole bunch of cilantro. I'm going to take half of this entire bunch. So about that much. It is a lot of cilantro. Again, we're going to want to do a nice rinse on this and make sure if there's any yucky parts, you get rid of them. And you're going to do stems and all. The stems actually juice the best, and they have really, really good, all the nutrients and stuff are still in those stems. We're going to juice this whole thing just like before. We're going to do the leaves first. And because I'm going to show you how to do this together with the celery, I'm going to show you that we're going to do order of operations. You always do the softest thing first. So we're going to do this leaf side down first, then the celery leaf side down, and then we're going to run the apple through the end. And you'll get the most juice coming through doing it that way, because those kind of softy bits get left in the little tray there, and as the harder things come through it helps everything actually get juice to its highest. So let's get these guys washed, and we're gonna make the cleansing one. It's so good. So you saw me shake it out, you definitely want to shake it out. We don't want too much water in there, but save that to the side. This is ready to go. We're gonna get our celery in, and then our apple is already washed. I'm just gonna make it into small enough pieces to fit in my juicer here. You don't need to peel it, you don't need to core it. You literally, all you have to do is wash it and put it in pieces that'll fit in your juicer. So that'll fit pretty well in mine. So you can see between having the cilantro and some celery and some apple, it's gonna be a little bit more juice if we did the whole thing of everything, and I don't need the whole thing of everything. So I'm gonna leave these guys to the side. Actually, I'm gonna leave these ones to the side, and I'm gonna show you what to do with those in a different video. So you can see this is the very most inner part of the celery. It's probably not gonna get as much juice. It's gonna be delicious, but not as much juice. I'm gonna put those to the side, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do with those in a minute. So I'm gonna take 3 stalks of celery, I'm gonna take my apple, and I'm gonna take my cilantro. All right, so cilantro in first. Celery. You can see this one made quite a bit more. I can see where the cilantro is because there's kind of a dark line around the bottom. When you first do the cilantro, it's not super water heavy. You will not see a ton come out, but what does come out is dark green, which you've got to know is so good for you. So this one's going to take a taller glass. This will mix up as you pour it. You can see this is like a definite full glass of juice there. That is like literally one of my favorites. The brightness of the cilantro and then that little bit of apple for sweetness in there. You can still taste the celery. This is really, really good. So the last juice I wanted to share with you today is celery, beet, and ginger. So beets and ginger are, again, one of those things, these are a superfood. Ginger has so many healing qualities. Oh my gosh, it is so freaking amazing for you. But I'm gonna show you a couple of things that are different about these two ingredients, beets and ginger specifically, because these are one of the only two that you actually want to peel before going in the juicer. With the ginger, your juicer is going to have a harder time, especially if it's kind of a centrifugal juicer like mine, getting the juice out if the peel is still on there. And with the beet, honestly, it does have a much more earthy, dirty taste if you leave the skin on. And to me, that's not super palatable when I'm doing a juice, but there are like all the little trace nutrients and stuff that are found in like dirt and can be grounding, but that area is pretty dirty. I'm going for the beet itself, which actually juices up really nicely. So, I'm gonna peel these couple things up and put them in the juicer. You've seen how to juice celery, so I'm actually not gonna juice the celery this time. For the ginger, you want a pretty good knob of it. So I'm gonna say like about that big of a knob. You could do more if your systems can handle it, but you wanna get a pretty good piece in there. So let's get that. Actually might use a spoon to do. Do you guys do yours with a spoon? I do mine with a spoon. It actually peels ginger really nicely. You just kind of take the spoon and you scrape it down and it comes right off. And with the ginger, it's totally okay if it's not perfect. We don't have to catch everything. So for this one, we're gonna put the ginger in first. If we were doing, I'm actually just gonna mix this with the celery juice I already had, so we're not wasteful because we can't drink that much. You really want to drink these fresh after you do them. They oxidize and don't get as beautiful for your body pretty quickly after. So I'm gonna do, if I was going to do this all together, I would do ginger first, then the celery, then the beet. The beet is the hardest one, so you always want the hardest one in at the end. And ginger's actually, it looks hard, but it's actually pretty soft and it's a small piece. And so you want the other ones kind of coming in on top, making sure we have everything. So we're gonna do ginger first, and then I'm gonna mix it with the celery juice we already have, and we're gonna do beet last. So this is what I got from that one beet and the little knob of ginger juice. For this one, because I already have some, I'm gonna mix it in with the celery juice I already have. Make sure to get all of that out of there. Give that a little bit of a stir. The top of this looks like Christmas because it's very red and green and kind of like Christmassy. How festive and beautiful is that? So you can see the beet juice makes a really beautiful juice, and it is so good for you. I really love it with that ginger. It does have a bit of a kick to it, but if you can handle that little bit of a kick, it is so good. Other things that you can juice through and be beautiful with these, you can do some peppers. So if you like things spicy, you could throw some jalapeno in there. It is going to have a massive kick. I would more recommend a sweet pepper, like an orange sweet pepper, a red sweet pepper, something like that. The brighter the color, the more antioxidants and things that are gonna help get rid of the free radicals. So I would recommend something like that. Carrots are amazing. You can get a giganto bag of carrots at Sam's Club for, I think it's like $5 or something. It might even be less than that. I'll have to go look because it was like less than $1 a pound. super, super cheap and ridiculously good for you. Parsley is also really good. So if you're not a cilantro person, parsley is also really good for getting rid of those heavy metals and toxins. In general, like your lettuces and stuff don't do super well. So if you're going to do them, I would recommend a cilantro or a parsley, something in that herby aromatics range, because it is so, so good for you and worth it to get, you know, the little tiny bit you get there is really power packed. Beets again. So you're looking for your harder vegetables that are going to actually have some juice content in them and have a high nutrient quality. Again, for the fruit, for this first 4 cycles, you're only going to do it on day 2, and you're going to do apple if you do any. And then I just wanted to show you some things with cleaning out your machine, which is actually vitally, vitally important. So you want to clean this guy right after use every single time. You do not want to be waiting around and going, oh, well, you know, I'll get to that in a couple of hours. Literally think to yourself, I'm going to clean this out every single time. I'm going to take the couple minutes to do it. So I'm planning in the extra 2 minutes that it takes to get this completely cleaned out every single time. If you don't, you will end up with a heck of a mess. A heck of a mess. And so the first thing to be advised of, there was just a little tiny bit of beet left that I'm going to put in my pile here. I'll tell you about that in a sec. Usually it goes all the way through. I'm just not going to take time to turn it back on today. So this is the filter portion. This is the most crucial portion to make sure you're washing every day, with tiny, tiny, tiny little holes like that are all filled with vegetable pieces right now. You can imagine over time that is going to be a massive problem. My juicer and most juicers come with a brush like this. It looks a lot like a toothbrush that gets in and gets this clean. I do it right after, and I don't even add soap. So I just want to keep it as clean as possible without getting any chemicals in there, because those chemicals are going to get in my food and whatever. If you need to, that is up to your preference. But if you do this right away, then it's going to work. If you ever do lose this though, my last machine, I lost this little guy. You can just get a big toothbrush and use it for the same thing. So buy a toothbrush specifically for this, store it with this. I store it all together. So let's get this rinsed off. Okay, so there's your hardest part right there. That probably took me 45 seconds to get this completely cleaned out. You want to brush the outside and the inside of that filter, and that's done. Now all I have to do is dump out this bit of the pulp here, rinse everything off, and that's it. So you saw me put to the side some of these little ends and pieces. So there was that little bit of beet that didn't go quite through, and sometimes I put that all the way through and go again, but I'm like, I'm gonna use it for another purpose this time. And we had those little pieces of the celery that were in the middle, and I kept the little ends here. These are just my vegetable scraps. And so I just wanted to show you what we do with our vegetable scraps here that's gonna help you make some delicious food and save money and have some really healthy options. So we put all of our vegetable scraps go in a bag, a big bag like this, in the freezer. So we're gonna stick all those in, and you can see what we had before. There was just like the little leftovers of the end of the kale bag. There's a lot of this is carrot peelings. Another good thing is the outside of the onion that you don't really use, even the peel of the onion that you don't use. Anything that's kind of like leftover vegetables that are still good, you're gonna put in this bag. So in the bag we go. And then I'm gonna show you how to turn those into a delicious vegetable broth that we make at the beginning of each week. So we use a ton of vegetables. So this is only like 3 or 4 days worth. So you can imagine by the end of the week, I have a huge bag of those. But in our meal prep video, I'm gonna show you how to take those and turn them into a beautiful vegetable broth. But back to juice, it really is a super simple thing to do. Do not overcomplicate it. It really literally only takes a couple of minutes. I mean, it is one of the quickest meals you can do. I do recommend, I'm like going back to juicing it right before you drink it. The caveats to that is like, you have to go to work. You can't bring your juicer with you. Then juice enough to get through work and then do some fresh when you get home. But if it is possible in your circumstance to juice it and then consume it right after, all of those antioxidants and all of the beautiful fresh enzymes and stuff, it's mostly the enzymes, are going to absorb into your body the most, and they're going to be mostly there. When the oxidation process happens, we've broken all those cell walls and it's exposed to the air and oxidation starts happening with it. It's the same reason avocados start turning brown pretty quickly. Imagine that's the same thing that's happening to these vegetables, is pretty quickly they start doing that. So what we want to do is use them fresh. You can squeeze just a little bit of very fresh lemon juice in there. Same thing with an avocado, where it's going to help that oxidation process slow down so that you can have those beautiful things in your body, okay? So with that, juicing is easy. You've got this. Day 1, celery only. Day 2, you can bring in apple and then some other hard vegetables. There's so many great options, so get juicing.